Hey there, everybody. This is Carrie Hamblen, the CEO and president of the Las Cruces Green Chamber of Commerce, coming to you again with another one of our Zoom chats. We offer these to members of the Las Cruces Green Chamber of Commerce, so we get to uplift the amazing work that they're doing in the community. If they're a nonprofit and as a business, we like to uplift what they're doing as well if they've got special sales or special events coming up. And today, it's becoming a tradition. I have with me Cheryl Turner, who is a dyslexia therapist, and then one of the founders, Shani McGee, who is also a dyslexia therapist of the Dyslexia Institute of Southern New Mexico. Hello, ladies. How are you doing today?
Good.
Great, thank you.
Good. So, do you know why October is chosen as Dyslexia Awareness Month? Is there a significance for that?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay. So it's just one of those. It's like, oh, we've got this month. We gotta do this and get awareness. I was just wondering if there was something significant. But the services that you provide are really important because, I think we've spoken, so many more people are getting an accurate diagnosis, whereas 20 years ago, even probably 10 years ago, people were not getting an accurate diagnosis of dyslexia, and yet there could have been so much support for these individuals have that. And so what's the importance of recognizing just the prevalence of dyslexia and how ignoring those signs or just even a misdiagnosis can really bring some negative and disastrous consequences to people who have dyslexia?
Well, first, I think it obviously impacts their educational outcomes. It also affects them emotionally. When bright students struggle to read, they often don't understand when their peers are being successful. And it leads to a lot of frustration, fatigue, disengagement in the learning environment. And they begin to just kind of shut down in school. Sometimes we see behavior problems come into play with that. It's very hard for a bright student to fail when they know that they're capable of doing other great things. And so that's probably most of the symptoms and signs that we see when we have our average to above average intelligence. Our students with that, they come with all of that emotional baggage along with their academic failures, I would say.
Yeah.
And I think as when that happens, as they graduate, they're not going to be working to their potential. They may not be able to have the type of job that they would have had if they had what they needed in the schools.
Right. Well, how do families kind of are able to get those symptoms? I mean, there's certainly, when a child is having difficulty in school, there's usually withdrawing, there's usually lashing out. We'll notice behavioral differences, but how can you, as a parent or an adult in somebody's life, start identifying the symptoms of dyslexia? How can you start figuring out, like, I should probably take them to go get tested so we can try and get to the bottom of this?
Well, a lot of the symptoms deal with, having difficulty with reading. They have spelling
issues,
challenges, as well as writing. Their vocabulary seems to be minimal compared to their intelligence. There's like a list of them. There's like listening comprehension that falls, they just have difficulty understanding even spoken language because they haven't been able to read to understand.
Right. And they don't want to read.
Right. Well, why would you if it's so frustrating and challenging?
Yeah.
They have difficulty following directions and committing things to memory.
Can't follow them all.
The last thing that I really recognized, and I spent many years, I'm a retired special ed teacher, when I would see all of these academic signs, it usually came with some kind of emotional response like anxiety, frustration, or low self-esteem because of their academic difficulty. And so those are the main things. One thing that I am very relieved to know is that the public schools have started in kinder and first grade doing a screening. And I think that's helping us to identify students at a younger age where they don't have to face all of these obstacles.
Right. Well, part of the purpose of the Institute is really to give tools, because there's not a lot it's not like you can just have like a little minor surgery and dyslexia is cured. It's not going to happen. So what you're doing is you're providing tools for people who have this. And so how do your programs do that? Like, what are some characteristics that you bring in through your programs through the Dyslexia Institute that help people add to their toolbox?
Okay, I'll talk about that. Our programs that we teach at the Dyslexia Institute are all programs that are Orton Gillingham based. And so there's 3 programs that we teach. We teach Take Flight, Alphabetic Phonics, and Barton, which are all multi-sensory programs. So when we teach a lesson, we always use all the modalities. So we use the visual, auditory, and kinesthetic. Okay. It's very repetitive things. We teach things over and over, or review things over and over and over again. We do phonemic awareness. We do phonics.
And so when you say phonemic awareness, so I just want to, for those of us who don't know the jargon, can you explain what that is?
Cheryl, can you do that?
Yes. Basically, our programs are research-based through the Scottish Rite Hospital in Dallas. And they consist of those 5 components of reading instruction. So they look at, and that's based on, they call it the Big 5 of essential developing reading skills. And that's what our program does. And that's what exactly what Shani's saying.
I see. And that repetition, Shani, that's kind of making it more rote memory, right? That you're not relying on visually what you're seeing.
Yes.
And it helps our students with memory problems because the more we repeat it, okay, they say it, they hear it, but also, like Shani was saying, they write it. So like when you do things repetitively, it stays in your short term, but then it transfers to your long term.
And a lot of our students do have trouble with their short-term memory. And so you need to really work on that with them. And that's where the parents can come in. You know, when we send things home, we always send home the materials after we've taught them and say, please review, especially like some people call them sight words, some people call them instant words. I hear now they're calling them heart words or red words. So there's all kinds of different terms. But we really do ask the parents to review those at home with them, because the more they can do it, the more it's going to stay in their memory. So the other thing that we do that I think to me really is important is we teach the students the different ways of spelling, or all the different ways of spelling a sound. For example, the sound k can be spelled, let me think, 5 ways. And, you know, kids are just like blown away with that. But we teach them, when do we spell k with a K? And when do we spell k with a CK? And when do we spell it with a C in final position? And so they really are taking charge of understanding those rules. And it's just it's an eye opener for parents and for kids and for teachers to say, oh my gosh, I never knew that. And so I think that's really a great component, because spelling is a struggle for kids and adults. And I think that's a really important part of the program. And then we also do comprehension, and we do fluency, which is where we are having them read for a certain amount of time, and we want them to be accurate and read it at a speed that's appropriate. So our program does all those different things, and it's a great program. The programs that we teach really benefit adults all the way to, kindergartners, or from kindergartners all the way through adulthood.
Well, it doesn't help that the English language has there, and there,
Yes.
which is, hard enough for English speakers. And then you get non-English speakers, and then you get folks who are like, have dyslexia. So their roadmap to getting at the end is a little bit different, and it takes a little bit longer. And then you have to deal with that. I mean, sometimes it versus the English language.
And kids will ask us that, why is this? Why do they have all these weird spellings? And that's where you can tell people that are dyslexic have such high IQs, because they understand that it's confusing and they want to know why.
Yeah.
Why that happened. And they'll even say, why do we even do that? Can't we just not spell it that way? And I'll say, well, no, you can't.
It would be nice.
It would be nice.
Yeah. Well, as we're wrapping up today, ladies, I mean, it's you are really equipping people with a different set of tools to be able to be like a folks who don't have dyslexia, who don't have those same challenges. And so as we're wrapping up, what do you see are still some of the hurdles? Because you had mentioned, Cheryl, about how the school district is doing diagnostic and assessment earlier. What are other hurdles that you see that need to be addressed so that you can provide better services to folks with dyslexia?
Go ahead, Cheryl.
With our nonprofit, I think our biggest hurdle is that in our community, it's the funding. Like, we're so gracious to those that have been, so generous with us. And we do have a place in the electronic caregivers building that, it's a nice office. It's great for our therapy work. But, if our funding increases, we could help more in the community. We offer a lot of scholarships. We don't want it to turn away any child that is struggling. But, and I think that, and just the fact that people aren't aware necessarily, like, when to go get help. I'm a big proponent as a special educator that early intervention is the key. You don't want those kids to face failure. And so we really want to be aware, and we would love for the community to be more a part of what we're doing. That's the great thing about you inviting us for this interview, because hopefully we can get the word out of what we're doing and help more children.
I've got some ideas that I'll talk with you offline about too. So we'll get some stuff. So funding and letting people know more about what you're doing. Well, I hope this Zoom chat helps. And we're more than happy to help with this. Shani, do you want to wrap up with anything before we finish out today?
That's exactly what I was going to say. We've got some great sponsors. We do write grants that we get, and a lot of times we get approved for the grants, but just individuals, if they would be willing to donate a little bit, it goes a long way. We use our money for the kids, and I think that's important. And I think it's important too to understand that sometimes kids need to have one-on-one tutoring to really work with them on the skills they need. And so that is important to be able to do that with the kids.
Yeah, that is.
The other thing is that they need time, and in the schools, I say we, Shani and I taught for years. We are limited in our time. There's only so many hours in the day and subjects to cover and classes to teach, but when we're focused on that child for an hour, and they come 2 to 3 hours a week.
Yes.
And we tailor it to their needs. And that is when you really see them take off.
Yeah. Well, I
wanted to mention quickly before we jump off is, I know all of the teachers, we're all retired teachers that work at the Institute, and we all enjoy learning more, getting trained on different programs. We're looking to get trained just in a few weeks on another program that's for older students and adults. And our training does cost us a lot of money. And so that's another area. We were gracious to get some donations for our training this time and for our materials.
Mhm.
But that's another area that, I would consider kind of like a need.
Absolutely. Well, I'm really grateful for what you're doing. There are several people in my life who have benefited from services you and others have provided. People who have just, it's a different little roadmap that people follow. We just got to find those directions, right?
Yes.
And so we have Shani McGee and also Cheryl Turner, who are dyslexia therapists at the Dyslexia Institute of Southern New Mexico. If you would like to know more about what they do, you'll see the information either above or below. You can find them online at DISNM, that's Dyslexia Institute of Southern New Mexico.org, or you can call them at 575-649-2992. Of course, not expecting you to write that down, but you'll see that information above or below. Shani and Cheryl, it was lovely talking with you. Thank you so much for all that you're doing, and I wish you the best of luck.
Thank you for having us on.
Thank you.